So a couple days ago, we made it to 30K on YouTube. Thank you guys again for watching, commenting, giving me ideas for videos, all that stuff. But I've been really busy with my van builds, really exhausted, so I haven't had time to make a vlog. So I figured we would just kind of hang out, and I made a little list here of stuff that's happened since the last vlog. And yeah, just gonna go through it. The first thing, most obviously, is the van build. And I've done a lot of work since my last fan build video. I put the insulation in. You can see the wool insulation there. I did the framing. And yeah, the van is looking cozy. It's a little bit warmer. I don't have a heat source yet, so it's not super warm, but I don't know. The sound is pretty good. It's definitely a lot more deadened than when it was just this like ringing metallic hull. Um, and the next thing is that I have to do is the heating source. And I was thinking about doing a wood stove, which seemed really romantic. However, it turns out there's just too many problems, practical problems with it. One of them is that I'm living at my mom's house and she does not want me to have a wood stove, even if the town would allow me to do it, which they might if it was inspected. But that would be a major problem because I'm basically living both my mom's house and my dad's house. I'm going to be driving back and forth, so I can't not have a heating source 50% of the time in New York winter. It's going to be freezing cold. So the solution that I came up with is to get a little propane fireplace. And I think this is really the best thing to do for van life. I thought about diesel, but everything that people said about them was like they're just like really smelly, and I didn't want that inside the van, and propane doesn't have any odor at all. But anyways, it's about this big or maybe this big. There's a company called Newport or Dickinson. They make this one called the Newport Explorer. It's made for like tiny homes and boats and stuff like that. But it's gonna go like right there, right next to the window. Um, and I'm really looking forward to it because like winters have been so brutal for me. Like as someone who's skinny, um, it's just really hard to stay warm, and it's kind of become almost like an emotional thing for me. The world in general, I think, has just become super cold the last few years after the pandemic, especially. It's like everyone's just become a little more distant, and I don't know. Everything feels more stressful and whatnot. Winter, the sun goes away. Like as you can see, the light is super dead right now. So it's difficult to get through. And this is why, like, I've really been wanting to have a fireplace. Ideally the wood stove, but I think a propane fireplace, you still get the flames coming up. And I just can't think of anything cozier, to add to the van. So that's the next major milestone. I think for the framing and the insulation video, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna record like a point of view vlog of like going through all of the parts of it and just showing people because honestly, like the last few videos, I did this like really intricate step by step by step thing, and it just took me forever to edit. And I'm like just spending all my time on the computer making this video that honestly like no one ever watched. I think like some people just sort of like clicked on it just to see the final product. I don't really think anyone cares about the step by step other than people who are making van builds, and I don't know. There are already plenty of van build videos out there, so I think that would be more fun and more honestly more helpful to everyone is just to like me talk about the various things that I did. It's pretty obvious. Um, but anyways, yeah, back to the fireplace. This sort of leads me to like topic two for the vlog, which is my mom. And my mom has a very high anxiety personality, which has made the van build very difficult because it's like every single thing that I want to do, she's like, "Oh, it's too dangerous." We have this argument over and over again, and it's getting really tiring. This whole saga started off like at the beginning of the van build when I wanted to put in the cargo window there by myself. And my mom helped me with the loan for the van, so there was no way around it for me because I couldn't afford the payments would have been like too high, if I didn't have my mom's help on the down payment, so but it created this problem where now she's sort of like feels like she has a say in how I can build the van, which is really frustrating because the whole point of the van is supposed to be like me having a separate space where I can do what I need to do, and she has a separate space where she can do what she, but we still got problems where she's like trying to control the space. But anyways, like each step of the van build, it's like it's been a struggle. It was a fight. I had to like lie to her about saying that I was gonna use someone else to put that window in, and then wait for her to go on vacation so that I could put it in myself. And it was fine. Everything went according to plan. And and then she saw it and she's like, "Oh, okay." After all of this like argument. And so I thought things would be fine after then, but they weren't fine because then when I did this window and the two windows in the back and the two rear windows, it was like the same fight over and over again. It's This is a really frustrating thing with my mom. Is that, like, she just has a very, like I said, anxiety personality, but also like needs to feel safe all the time. She does not want to take risks. And this is very frustrating to me because, like, as you probably know from watching my videos, all I do is take risks constantly, with barefoot shoes, running completely barefoot, trying different diets, starting a business, van life, on and on and on. So, the framing, yeah, she didn't throw a fit about the framing, which was nice, but she did throw a fit about me starting to do wiring in the van. That was another argument, and then the propane is yet another argument. The wood stove was an argument. I really wanted to have the wood stove, but she, yeah, she like got it in her mind that it was too dangerous, even though other people have done it for van life for decades. Um, but anyways, fine. So I compromised with the propane stove, and at first she was fine with that too. And then it's like yesterday she decided that suddenly it's not safe. Is very frustrating. It feels like a lack of stability. Like I'm already exhausted making YouTube videos full time and trying to do my van build, which is also really exhausting, and then having to deal with like thinking that I've gotten my mom on board with something and then she just like completely goes back. Ooh, it's very, very tiring and stressful. And I just want to get out of the house, but I can't do anything really in here until I get a heating source. Um, so like this morning, the first thing she comes into my room, first thing she's like, "Oh, last night I realized that this gas, stove idea isn't really going to work because it's going to forfeit your Ford warranty and it's going to forfeit your ability to get the van serviced at the Ford dealership." And I looked both of those things up and not true. Neither one of those things is true. And I checked with the insurance company. The insurance company's fine with it. Putting a propane tank underneath the van. It's Yeah, other people do it. You can get a DOT certified tank that's super strong, weather resistant, so forth. Oh, God. Like, literally, all I want is just a little space of my own where people don't tell me what the fuck to do. They just, like, leave me alone. That's like, all I want. I just want to be left alone. That's, like, the libertarian in me, just, like, screaming for freedom. It's like, I'm not gonna blow up the world. I just want my little slice, um, of happiness and creative space where I can think and not be interrupted. But anyways, that's how the van's going. I would say like another thing about the van that's been really hard, and this is a useful piece of information for anyone who's thinking about doing van life, is like the most exhausting part isn't like the actual building work. It's like the visualizing of the space. And especially if you're planning on doing something unique, and you want to make it feel really special rather than just kind of following a templated approach based off of, a guide, or someone else's van that you've seen. It's kind of like you would think that it's easier because it's a small space, so it's like you would think that there would be less design, but in actuality you're just taking like an entire house, you're cramming it into a tiny like 67 square foot space. And it makes it more difficult because you have to have like a toilet and a kitchen and insulation and electricity and water, and then you have to figure out like what are you going to do with this space, like how is this wall going to be laid out? What are the colors? What are the materials? How are you going to stain the wood? Where are you going to put the desk? Where are you going to put the seating? How are you going to do the storage? Oh my God. And like behind me, I'm working on a hidden bookcase door, which is going to be really cool. But everything in the van is so difficult to figure out because nothing is straight. Everything comes in at weird angles. It's like the ceiling is curved, but then it's not even a perfect curve. There's like a little curve and then there's like a jutted part. So, oh my God, it's so mentally draining trying to visualize all this stuff. And it doesn't really like I tried some of the software, apps where you can kind of like put things in 3D and rotate it around and it didn't really help because you can't get a sense of what something actually looks like unless you're seeing it like here, as it's going up. I don't know. My brain doesn't seem to like translate, the 3D model to the reality of the thing in terms of scale and like what it'll feel like to be in the space and move around the space and whatnot. But I feel like part of it is that I'm working full time on YouTube, so that is mentally draining. And then I've got the drain of arguing all the time with my mom and just, stress from the world and just everything that's going on, family and all this stuff. So it like drains your ability to visualize, and I've been trying to fix it with like nutrition, trying various diets. And as you guys know, I did raw vegan, and that seemed to work really well for me at first, and then it didn't work at all. And then I sort of just switched back to like a, omnivore diet. But then I have this joint pain problem going on, which has been going on since like 2019. And that's just really frustrating, because it's causing insomnia and it's like, it just drains you, to be in pain, and especially on like working at a computer. So anyways, the diet that I'm on now, I'm gonna make an actual video about this. But I've been eating raw meat. I'm doing like a raw carnivore diet now, and yeah, vegans in my audience are not gonna be happy about this. I'm sorry. At this point, I'm just trying to survive. I cannot live the rest of my life in pain and like exhausted and having insomnia, so I've got to find a diet that works for me, and like whether or not raw carnivore will be the answer, I don't know, but it's very interesting. Basically how it started, and I'm not going to go too deep into this because I'm going to make another video about it, but like one day I just had some raw venison from my dad and I was about to cook it and I'm like, oh, like what if I just eat some? So I just took a bite and I was like, wow, this is actually really good, and I thought like when you have raw meat, it sort of has this like red and rich and beautiful color, and then when you cook it, it gets all like brown and monotone, and it does turn out to be the case that you cook a lot of the nutrients out, especially things that are heat sensitive like vitamin C and also enzymes, So this is what I like so much about raw vegan is it felt like the food was more nutritious, but it also came packed with like enzymes, that help the food be digested. And so it seems to be really working really well. I work myself up to even having like a pound of raw bison every day, and I've tried raw salmon. I'm now eating raw quail eggs, and I have not gotten sick. We'll see how it goes long term. I have an HTMA, which is a hair tissue mineral analysis test coming up, so it'll be interesting to see like how it affects my nutritional levels. I don't think I've been on it long enough to really make a huge difference yet, but um, I feel pretty good on it. Joint pain is a little bit better. Um, I don't have any stomach pain, which I get with if I eat too much vegan food, whether it's cooked or raw. And that's because vegan food has anti-nutrients, and some people seem to be able to deal with them perfectly fine without any symptoms, but other people that have autoimmune problems especially seem to have issues with vegan food. So that's the thing that I'm trying to figure out right now is like, maybe like a raw meat diet is the healing diet for me. I'm having bone broth and I'm gonna try some tallow and stuff too. But anyways, that's enough about that for now in terms of diet. And I'm just hoping to find something where like I have more energy, because I need a ton of it for van build and all of the things we've talked about. What else has happened? Oh yeah, the election, that little thing. um, I feel like I don't know. I didn't vote. I haven't voted in the last two elections just because it's like nothing ever changes, you know? We just kind of like ping pong back and forth from one party to the next, and like one party will start to do something and then like they get knocked out of office, and then the other party comes in and then they undo everything the first party did, and it's just like pointless, you know? So this is why I don't really get involved in politics on a national level, is because it just feels like so far out of my control that it's not even worth my time. It's just better for me to like make YouTube videos that help people. You know, that's a much better way for me to impact the world. But I think it was an interesting election. You know, I mean, it was certainly a landslide, and I think people showed that they were sick of all of the like censorship. You know, and just like clamping down on liberties. That's a whole video topic in and of itself, but I don't know. The people that Trump is picking, it just feels like he's filling the swamp rather than draining it, you know, which is what I expected. But I guess the only real bright spot is like RFK, you know. I'm just hoping that he can do something to get all of the just completely toxic ingredients out of our food. Is America, the food in America is just so unbelievably terrible. And like he said, in Canada and Europe and other places, there's so many things that are banned that aren't even allowed in food. And here it's like, oh yeah, put whatever toxic crap you want, you know, whatever cancer producing dyes and Fruit Loops and, you know, so forth. So I don't know. I don't really have a lot of hope, to be quite honest, because I feel like what's going to happen is that um, RFK is just going to either he's not going to actually ever get appointed in the first place, or he is going to get it appointed and he just won't be able to make any progress because there's just so much resistance from lobbies. And then I feel like Trump is going to lose patience with him, and then he's just going to fire him, which is what he does. You know, he doesn't hold on to people for very long. He just kind of like shuttles them in and out, and you know. But yeah, that's the election. Something else that happened is I went to my dad's art show recently, and this is another like recurring stressor in my life. Is like my dad has kind of been like a starving artist his whole life. You know, he tried to start his own business, and then he just wasn't able to charge enough. You know, he's just too nice, you know, constantly giving stuff away for free and whatnot. And like every time I have to go to one of his art shows, it like kills me inside because he's making this gorgeous, you know, high-end woodworking, and he's selling it in this, you know, rural area where people are not going to pay for that stuff. And he's selling like frames with you know, beautiful black and white traditional photos in them for like $30. It really hurts your heart, you know, to see that. And I'm trying to get my own house in order so that I could help him, but there's just so many problems to deal with. Um, it's you know, like I've said, my dad is going blind from chewing tobacco his whole life, you know, to cope with the starving artist thing and other stressors in his life. I don't know, just too much. It's like my brain can't even wrap around all the stress, and I'm pretty sure that most people watching this video are going to feel the same exact way. It's like, how do you even process all of this stuff anymore? Family members having cancer and all kinds of autoimmune problems. And it's just like, you wake up every day, you feel like the to-do list is just endless. You can't make any progress. It's like every time you check something off the to-do list, there's like 100 more things that get added to it, and you never feel like you're getting anywhere. But another thing I've been feeling, and I don't know whether this is it's probably just like a shortage of energy issue because I haven't been able to find like the right combination of foods that my body works well on, you know, but I just feel like everywhere I look in terms of like books and TV shows and just everything, it all feels the same, you know? It's sort of like once you know the basic storyline of how most stories work, it's like, oh, the hero starts off from nothing, and then they have to go on this journey and they learn all these things and they make some friends and then they defeat the enemy and it's like happy ever after. and it's like every book that I try to read recently, it just feels like the same thing over and over and over again. You can see the same archetypes in the characters, you know, and they're obviously like little small details that are different, but it's sort of, I don't know, it just feels like life is a video game, and I've played through as much of the quests. I don't know that I've finished the main quest line, but I've done enough of it that it's like you just start seeing the cracks in the illusion, and you see like that these characters aren't real. They're just like NPCs. You know what I mean? You can predict how they're going to react and what they're going to say, and you just think like someone hands you a quest, and at the beginning when you first started playing the video game you're just all excited about it, and it's like, oh my god, I'm going to go on this quest to get this special amulet or this freaking cool bow or piece of armor or something, and it just felt so motivating. You were just obsessed with like the status of achieving the goal and making progress and exploring the world, and at some point you just, I don't know. Things can, maybe it's stress, maybe it's just exhaustion, but you lose the interest in going after things. So I don't know. That's kind of like where I am right now with the van. I think it's just because things are moving too slow and there have been a lot of obstacles in the way. So you just sort of lose the fire of excitement. And van life, it's really hard, to just do like task after task after task after task, and it feels like you're no closer to actually moving into the van. And I've seen a lot of van lifers say the same exact thing. It's really easy to get burned out, but I'm just trying to keep going and doing something every single day so that I can get done with it and travel, starting in the spring and next summer. I really want to be able to do like backpacking videos and actually testing barefoot shoes out in conditions rather than just going to the same path every single day, because it's getting really boring to me. And just having some time, to myself, being completely alone in nature is always where I feel the most happy, not around people. I like people a very small amount, but being by myself out in nature is definitely the happiest that I get. What else do we have? I think there's a couple things left. Oh yeah. Beats. I really want to be getting into music. This is another frustrating thing about van life, is that you feel like there's so many things like in your way. You have to just keep like suppressing these desires to do certain things or to buy certain things down, because all of your money, your time, and your energy is just going into the van. Like when I did my van life or van plan video, one of the things I wanted to do was music and beat making, and I just haven't had the time. There's things that I want to invest in that I can't invest in because I'm investing in the van. So it's like that, and dating too. Honestly, it's just like yet another desire that's just having to be squashed down because I don't have any extra energy left over to invest it in, which is, sad, but we're getting there. I am making progress. I'm staying consistent, making YouTube videos. I'm on track to make $40,000 this year, which would be super cool because that is how much I was making when I was a copywriter. And when I left my job, people were just like, oh, you're never going to make it. And here I am. I've made it. This is the first year where I've actually made enough money to be like a full-time YouTuber, not just like making part-time income. But yeah, so that's cool. And I think that pretty much covers it. The one last thing that I want to talk about in this long vlog, rambly vlog, is I'm going to visit family for Thanksgiving, which is something I haven't done in like 4 years apparently. And every time I go to visit family, I feel like I have less and less in common with people. Just because of, like barefoot shoes and being a YouTuber, working from home, the diet, I'm like eating raw meat now. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around how I'm going to get through, visiting family for Thanksgiving where everyone's eating the same like foods that I consider to be toxic or at least, inflammatory to me, and beer and stuff like that, and just having to say no, 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 I don't want any of this. And not like, how am I going to explain to people that I'm eating this raw meat diet? Oh, that was another argument with my mom. Is like, she just went ballistic. She literally threatened to kick me out of the house. She's like, if you continue eating raw meat, you can go live with your dad. But this is something I have learned that is important to know about high anxiety people is that usually they're mostly bluster. And very quickly, my mom just sort of like, I mean, she doesn't like it, but she just sort of acclimated to it. And, but it is stressful in the beginning when people are freaking out and they're making all sorts of threats and whatever. It's just tiring. It goes back to the theme of like just wanting my little slice of the universe, little corner of the universe where I can just be myself and no one is like persecuting me for like trying things and doing new things and whatever. So the other thing about the family visit is that I'm taking the van. So this will be the first time that I've visited family where I'll have some place to like go when I get tired. Because before it was really hard. Like even spending 3 or 4 days at someone's house as an introvert, I just get exhausted and there's nowhere to go. Um, like a lot of people like leave the TV on or they're watching, shows or sports, football. Like I just can't stand watching football anymore because it's like all ads and it's just so over commercialized. So it's going to be draining nonetheless and exhausting trying to, figure out how to relate to people that you no longer relate to. But it will be nice to have the van. I'm hoping that I can install the heater before I go, but probably not. So I'll just have to pack up a bunch of blankets and stuff. And I am going to do some work in the van, which will be my first like remote working trip. But yeah, I don't know. It'll be kind of fun. And what else? I think, yeah, the last thing that happened that's kind of momentous is that um, after the election, my mom was really upset, predictably, like a lot of women were, just because Trump got elected and, again. And we were talking about RFK, and um, it just seems to me like the way that she raised me to like eat natural food and whatever, she would be in support of RFK, but she's like fixated herself on the whole vaccine thing and assume that he's like this evil person. So we were just having a conversation about it. I was just trying to have a conversation about it. I'm perfectly happy to like, have a heated conversation with someone in good, you know, spirits and, be okay with disagreeing. But my mom is not. She wants everyone to agree all the time and be nice and, never have conflicting opinions. And so, but yeah, she started like crying and saying like she wished that she had a daughter, who understood her. And it just, yeah, it's really sad. I haven't cried often because it's just like you feel so much repression and just like crushing force from living in the system and just this constant stress that there's like no room to cry. But yeah, I definitely went in my room and just like, um, yeah, just like let it all out for a while, which felt good. But it was, it was hurtful. And I'm again stuck in this situation where I'm like trying to help this person by recommending like natural remedies and different diets and things that she could try, but she's stuck in this diet of eating like white rice and factory farmed turkey and like processed food, quinoa snacks that haven't even been sprouted. Just the worst possible diet. She just had a tooth pulled here. And I warned her, I said, Mom, you can change your diet, you can work with a nutritionist, and you won't have to have this tooth pulled, because you're having bacteria build up in your mouth from eating all of this white rice and wheat and all of this stuff. But she wouldn't listen, so she had the tooth pulled, and now she's the medical system has her on the hook for yet another thing because the only options are getting an implant, which is like $7,000, or getting Invisalign or braces. So she's gonna have to get Invisalign because otherwise the teeth, can get crooked because there's nothing to hold them. And she's just gonna have more and more problems. And as she has more health problems, she gets more fearful of anything new or different, which makes my life difficult. And oh man, this is so stressful. And I'm just like completely alone. I have no friends in Rochester where I'm living. I don't really have time to make any, and it's really hard to find people who are like fully on the natural, like, and libertarian slash like free living train. But I'm hoping that as I start to travel more, I'll like meet more people of van life. But anyways, that's my long, rambly vlog catch up. We had to kind of like van life. We had to compress a lot of vlogs into one vlog. But anyways, if you're here for your, oh God, if you're here still, I appreciate you watching, and it's nice to hang out and just like talk about this stuff. I hope some of it was relatable or cathartic or whatever. And I'll be back soon with more barefoot videos and van life update. So catch you next time. Peace.